Okay, this is 7.5. So this is kind of a short lesson actually. So I hope you understood the decimal thing that we did yesterday. So let's go ahead and start on page 166 at the bottom where it's 7.5. Yesterday or earlier or whenever you did 7.4, we were talking about rounding, dividing decimals and getting the remainder by rounding. So it's time to dig just a little bit deeper into decimals. You all already may know some of these techniques, so we're just going to take this opportunity, if you already know how to do this, to kind of work on it and practice on it. We've already seen how to convert between fractions with the denominator of 10, 100, 1,000, whatever, anything that's a multiple of 10. Remember, you just put the decimal point right there at the very bottom of 166. It shows you. This is what we did when we first started out with decimals. 4/10 is the same as 0.4 because the 0.4, that first place, is the 10th place. So we just say 4/10. Or 40 100ths, you write like that. Or 400 1,000ths, you write like that. But often our denominator cannot be renamed into a denominator of 10, 100, 1,000. Take 1/7. How can you convert 1/7? Well, you may likely already know, I'm up at the top of 167, how to convert this fraction by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Let's think about why this is the case though. Fractions represent division, so it would make sense to convert them to decimals simply by completing the division. So if you want to take 1/7 and you want to make it into a decimal, well, let's do this. Let me do this quick review. Okay, what I just read about. Now, if you have, say you have 6/10, okay, we know that to write that as a decimal, you just write 0.6. That is 6/10. We also know that if we have, say, a fraction that's not a multiple of 10, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, or whatever, we have to rename this as one with 100 with a multiple on the bottom. So this one would go into 100. That'd be times 4 times 4. So then you could go ahead and write that as, okay, this is what we did early on in this chapter. We took a fraction with something on the bottom that's, 10, 100, 1,000, whatever, and we changed it into a decimal. Then we looked at fractions that were not multiples of 10, but we could change them into, we could rename them into one and then write the decimal. Today's lesson is what if you can't do that? And it gives you, as an example, 1/7. Well, this cannot be changed into we can't rename that into anything that's a multiple of 10. So how are you going to make this into a fraction? Remember, this is 1 divided by 7. So as a fraction, that's what we're going to do. You're just going to divide. Okay. Now this is actually what's on the top of page 167. I'm just showing you how to do it. Like I said, you may already know how, and that's okay. I hope you do. All right, 7 cannot go into 1, so guess what? We're going to have to start adding decimals, or a decimal, and adding zeros. Okay? Now, 7, I put a 0 there because 7 cannot go into 1, but now 7 can go into 10 one time. We're just going to start dividing like normal now. Okay? There's 3. Going to add another 0, bring it down. 7 goes into 30 4 times. That'd be 28. That'd be 2. We're going to add another 0. We always want to go at least 3 places up here. Bring that 0 down. 7 into 20 would be 2 times. Minus 14 gives a remainder of 6. Now, you could keep going. And it says on 167, right underneath where they did this, it says if you keep dividing, you'll end up with that long number right there. 0.14285714285. But for our purposes, let's just round the answer to the nearest hundredth. So to round this is the hundredth. The 2 makes the 4 stay the same. So the answer would be this. Okay? The decimal equivalent of 1/7. So if you had to write 1/7 as a decimal, it would be 0.14 because we divided it. Okay, that's all you do. Now, the rule for dividing a decimal number by a decimal number is to count the number of digits to the right of the decimal point in the divisor and move the decimal point that number of digits to the right in the dividend. Then you divide. So basically, let me, rather than read that to you and confuse you, let me just show you. Again, you may know how to do this. I hope you do. So now we know how to change a fraction that does not have a multiple of 10 and that we can't change it. We know how now just to divide it, to change it into a decimal. All right, so what if we're dividing a decimal by a decimal? And I'll use the example they have at the bottom of 167. They use 3.776. We don't really say that would be 3 776 thousandths divided by 8 23 hundredths. Okay, now watch closely. This is what you're going to do. It's really easy, and I'm not going to go into the why. I just don't want to do that on this part. You can read the rest of 167. It kind of explains it to you a little bit there on 168. But basically, I'm going to change colors here to show you what we do. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to say, well, I need to make this a whole number. In order to do that, you have to move the decimal how many places? 2 places. So now you have 823. So however many times you move it here, you have to move it this many times here. Okay, now our decimal's right here. Okay, now we can divide. Okay, now it's just like normal. It would be just like we were dividing, say, a fraction. Okay, so now we say 823 into 377. Well, obviously that can't go at all. 823 can't fit into 377, but it can fit into 3,776. Now, I realize there's a decimal there, but when we're dividing, we just look at these like they are whole numbers, especially once you move those decimals. Just don't even bother with them, okay? Because really and truthfully, this is the only decimal that makes any sense. Now, 823 into 3,776. Well, let's think 8 and 37. That would be 4. 5 would be 40, so 5 would be too much. So let's try 4. Okay, so 4 times 3 would be 12. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, so that's where we're going to go. Okay, now I don't have to do the rest of this, but nonetheless, you would go ahead and subtract, and whatever you get, you don't need to. You could keep going if you wanted to, adding zeros. You don't have to add a decimal because the decimal's already there. You would just keep adding zeros however far you needed to go, but you would just divide like normal. Okay, basically the thing I wanted to show you is that you have to move those decimals. So we'll do one more. They have it there on your page. It's 4 and 67 hundredths divided by 2 and 686 thousandths. Okay, remember, you got 2 decimals here. We need to make this a whole number. So we're going to move this to make it whole. We've got to move it 3 places. So guess what? Over here we got to move it 3, but there's only 2. So we'll add a 0. Now we can move it 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, bam. Okay, now you just divide like normal and just go for it. Okay, that's all you do. Just move them over here to make a whole number. However many times you move them here, and then just divide. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. Okay, all right, so let's look then at your worksheet. I haven't even looked at it yet. It's 7.5. Now, this is kind of a long worksheet. There's 3 pages to it. Now, it does say on the first part, and on the back page a little bit, you can use your calculator. Anytime it says calculator, you can use it. So on 1, A, B, and C, it wants you to express those fractions as decimals. Remember, round to the hundredths place. All right, so let me help you with one of them. Just make sure, I never know since since it's just me on here, I never know if y'all need help. If I sound like this, wah, and you already know how to do it, then just turn me off. Otherwise, watch this. Okay, so let's do C. I'm going to help you with 5/6. You're going to convert this to a decimal to the nearest hundredths place. So remember, this is 5 divided by 6. Okay, so we're going to do this. Okay, now we're going to have to say this can't go into here. We're going to add us a decimal and a 0. Now 6 cannot go into 5. You can put a 0 there if you want to. Now 6 goes into 50. What would that be? 8 times minus 48. Okay, remember you have to go 3 places because you have to round. You have to use this number to round to this place. Your answer will only have 2 digits to the right, but you got to have this place to round to that. This would be 2. Okay, we're going to keep going. 6 into 20 would be 3 times minus 18. This would be 2. 20. This would be another 3 minus 18. Remainder of 2. Now, you would have to round this to the nearest hundredths place. And then that would be your answer. I'm not going to give it to you because I may grade this page. So now I know there are a lot. And I know letter B on number 2, it's talking about those margins and stuff again. Just see if you can work on those. Just see what you can do. Use a piece of paper if you have to. Just don't measure anything. Just try to figure that one out yourself. I probably won't. Let me see what's on the back here. Okay. Now that I look at this, I may not grade this at all. Yeah, I probably won't grade this at all. Now the next one for the next day is a chapter review, so I probably will grade that one. This one I won't grade. If you have trouble on any of these, including 2B, let me know. But I'm not going to do any help on that because I just want to see how well you can do, if you can. Okay, but if you need help, let me know. Otherwise, this concludes our lesson, and your assignment is to finish worksheet 7.5.